about paranormal things that happen in Disneyland and Disney World. Now, I lived in Florida for 6 months in this year, so 2016, and I worked for the Disney company. And so I was in the parks all the time, learning cool things about Walt Disney and the company. But really what interested me was all the paranormal stuff that the cast members would talk about. And so I'm going to talk about some, and I'm going to talk about Disneyland stuff too. But of course I know a lot about Disney World that maybe some people don't know, and it isn't on the internet. So we're going to start with Walt Disney World because it is my favorite. It's not my favorite park. I like Disneyland better, but that's because I grew up at Disneyland because of where I'm located in the country. And so I feel more at home at Disneyland. I feel like Walt is more at Disneyland, and we'll get into that. But I feel like Disneyland was Walt's baby, and yes, Disney World was Walt's other baby, but Roy opened the park, Roy finished it. The first thing little tidbit I have to talk about is Room D in Town Square Theater, which is, if you go straight into Walt Disney World, it's where Tinkerbell and Mickey Mouse meet all their guests, and it's so cool. Tink has her Pixie Hollow, which is amazing. I always like to go to Pixie Hollow because I'm pretty sure there's stuff from Alice in there that she stole. And so it's fun to see all the teacups and all that, and you get shrunk down to be a pixie, and I like that, even though I'm about the size of a pixie, so it doesn't really, I mean, it kind of counts. But the other room is where Mickey Mouse hosts his magic show, which is really fun. He does magic tricks, and he talks to his guests, and it's so much fun. And so he has 4 rooms, A, B, C, and D, which are all, he can choose whichever room he wants to be in that day. He usually chooses room A just because it's easy and it's a short walk, but he can choose different rooms whenever he wants. So I learned about room D, and I understand why Mickey Mouse might not want to be in that room all the time, because I feel him. So this room is haunted by or said to be haunted by a man who worked in Disney World and died. I think it was he fell off a ladder or he had a stroke, something that he died in this area. And before Town Square Theater was there, it was Toontown, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive it was Toontown. And so when they built Town Square Theater, he could have come from Toontown. I don't really know. But he's not malicious to the guests. He likes to play games on the cast members. He never really bothers the guests. He'll pull hair, he'll ring the phone that's in the hallway so Mickey's attendants can get a hold of someone if Mickey needs someone, like Minnie Mouse. He flips on the light board, which lets them know which room Mickey is in, so if all 4 rooms are lit up, that's not right, so they know that this ghost has been messing with them. He likes to whisper in ears, he likes to touch us. I guess down the hallway someone took a picture, and there was like a ghostly orb figure in the end of the hallway by room D because the door was open. So I don't know, he's cool. I don't know what he was named. I want to say, it's not George. It's not George. I don't know. It was some cool name. I probably was just made up by the cast members, but he's cool and I liked him. So George. So George is a part of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and this was a man who, there's 2 reasons that they say he died. They don't really know. He apparently fell. This is one of the reasons. Fell from, you know where it's like the burning houses where the lady with the bat, or not the bat, the rolling pin is chasing the pirate around. He fell from there and died because he was on the top building. The other reason is that he was crushed by a falling beam right around that area too. So I mean, both are plausible. George is said to be not a malicious ghost, but he's kind of a prankster spirit, and I think it's really funny. So It said that, and I know I had a friend who worked in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, that they say good night to George. There's a big misconception that they say good morning to him also, and that's not true. They only say good night George over the intercom because if they don't, things the next day will kind of go haywire. The ride will stop working. The sensors will kind of like go off and then nothing will be wrong. Like the water sensors, that it's overflowing. The control room they'll get calls from the control room, no one will be on the line, and then they'll go in there and no one will be in there, and the door will shut behind them. And it's not like an automatic shutting door, it'll shut behind them like someone just walked in. He does bother the guests only if they antagonize him. So if they're like, haha, George is not real, George is da-da-da-da-da, like being like rude to him, he will manifest to them in the ride. So yeah, that's one thing that is kind of weird, but I think he just wants to be told goodnight, and if you ignore him, he's gonna make himself known to you. He's gonna say, hey, I am right here, like, hello, I run this ride, this is my ride. Another one which is kind of sweet, I kind of like this one, is the Roy Disney Ghost. And this was talked a lot amongst cast members, I noticed. I mean, guests did talk about it, but I heard it from cast members the most. So it said that during the fireworks show, I mean, the fireworks aren't the same right now. They're the Halloween fireworks right now, but during the normal times of the year, in the Magic Kingdom specifically, the fireworks are called wishes, and you sing that one. So everyone cries during these, and they're really magical, and I love them to death. But during wishes, it said if you stand on top of where the train comes, it's like the train station, if you stand on top in the middle of towns, not like there's Town Square Theater, the fire station, and then this big round like gardeny area. If you stand on top of the train station and you look down during the fireworks, it said that Roy Disney is standing in the like area, that little flower area, and he's watching the fireworks and enjoying himself. And I don't know if it's true, but if it is, Roy's where he wants to be, and I think that's really sweet. And yeah, I think it's really cool to just think maybe Roy hangs out at Walt Disney World and Walt hangs out at Disneyland. I don't know. I think it's cool. One I'm going to talk about Walt Disney World is the Splash Mountain Ghost. And this one is malicious. Ooh, I got chills, and my eyes start watering when I talk about this stuff, because this one scares me. So it said this is a guest, this spirit was a guest that had a heart attack, and the ride stopped, and he was trying to get out of the log while having this heart attack, and the log sucked him under and crushed him to death. That's terrifying. So, and it was during it even makes it even more creepier that it was during the part where it's like zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, with all the creepy characters. I don't know, Small World and all those that sing the creepy songs terrify me. I just see my eyes are watering. I don't know why it does this. I guess he sets off the high-rise sensors just like George does in the Pirates, but this one's really important because if the high-rise sensors go off in Splash Mountain, they have to shut down the whole ride and reboot it and all this stuff, because it's a really big safety thing for Splash Mountain. So I guess, and so when they go check them, the water's fine and they're not going off. So that's really weird. But there was a cast member that wrote online that he was in that area checking a high-rise sensor in the zippity-doo-dah area, and he saw a large black figure shoot across the whole scene. and he felt it in the pit of its stomach, and he just like could feel like chills going through him, and he asked to transfer out of that ride and not work there anymore because it terrified him so much, and I don't blame him. From what I've heard, this one can be very malicious. It pushes, it pulls hair, it hurts the guests. Like, I only went on that ride once, and it was with my best friend Brittany, and it was during pure daylight, but I just, that ride scares me. Now let's move on to Disneyland. Woo! As I throw my book. So I only have 3 for Disneyland because a lot of the times it's the same things talked about. The Haunted Mansion ghost, the little boy outside of the Haunted Mansion, all those kind of things are always talked about. But these ones I just find really interesting, and one is talked about all the time, but I just love it, and I think it's really sweet. So the sweet one is the fire station. So about the fire station, everyone knows that Walt had an apartment, and he never, I think it's either he never stayed in there or he only stayed in there a couple of times before he passed away and got sick. So it said that a maid, or not a maid, but a cast member was cleaning up in the area, and she turned off the light for the night and went downstairs, and when she came back out, the light was back on, and she was like, wow, that's weird. And she asked someone, and they're like, no, like, the light isn't censored, but it just does that. And she was explaining to that they think it's Walt, and Walt wants to be remembered, so that light never goes off, because if it does go off, it just gets turned back on. So I think that's really sweet. That's kind of a remembrance of Walt, and yeah, I love Walt Disney. He was a wonderful man, and I think he just created so much joy for so many people, and if that's how we remember him, with the firehouse, and if he is in the firehouse, not cryogenically frozen, that's gross. That freaks me out. Like, even if that was a thing, I would not, like, no one needs to have that frozen like forever. Sorry, I'm a weirdo. The next is the monorail runner, and I think maybe Shane Dawson talked about this, but he only talked about the death. So this is the boy who was on the monorail. Security was trying to get him off during grad night, and he was crushed by the monorail. And it is said that during that time, security will see someone running on the monorail, like a figure on the tracks, and no one will be there, or the monorail will just go straight through the person and nothing will happen. So that's really weird, and if I ever saw that, I'd be like terrified, because the monorail scares me anyways, because I just don't know. It doesn't have seatbelts, and it goes so fast, and it's so high up. I don't know. I'm kind of a weirdo with that stuff, and watching Shane Dawson videos do not help me. Like the conspiracy theories and the deaths at amusement parks or Disney deaths, like, doesn't help me out in my situation. The last one I am going to talk about is the ghost that prefers blondes. So I just thought this was really interesting. So way back when the park first opened, when Disneyland first opened, there was a ride called the People Mover. And in Walt Disney World, they still have the People Mover, but it was in Tomorrowland. I don't know what it is now, but the People Mover is no longer in Disneyland. But it was said that and maybe he still haunts the area, I don't know. So apparently when you would ride the People Mover, this ghost preferred blondes and would yank blondes' hair. Like, it was only blonde girls would feel their hair just violently yanked, and I just was like, oh my gosh, that would have been me, because I'm blonde. Like, even though I'm not like a platinum blonde, I am a blonde color, and so that would have been me in like the beginning of the park if I was alive, and that was just a little weird. It closed in 1995, so I wasn't even born yet, but yeah, that's a little weird. Ghosty, can't you choose a different hair color? Like, I mean, I guess brunette doesn't really help me either because, like, I have brunette in my hair too. So, like, so that is all the ghosty things I have to talk about that has to do with Disneyland and Walt Disney World. If you like these videos, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any more Disney ghosty experience or stories. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, loves!